Today's episode is brought to you by 9centprinting.com. With over 100 five-star reviews, 9centprinting.com is ready to meet all your printing needs. Are you a church plant or small church with no copy machine? No problem. 9cent Printing has you covered. If you need bulletins, flyers, books, cards, offering envelopes, posters, they do it all. I know the Christian owners of this business personally, and I'm not just a fan, I'm also a customer. Fast, nationwide shipping, affordable, professional, wow printing at wow prices. Check them out at 9centprinting.com. All right, well, welcome to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. This podcast is a ministry of the Small Town Network. We exist to make disciples, train pastors, and plant churches in smaller communities. My name is Eric Nielsen. I'm normally joined by my co-host, Tony Colomb, but he was unavailable due to summer commitments. And so today I have asked my youth pastor, Hunter Nikolai, to join the podcast. Hunter, how are you?
Doing great. I'm wondering if I can use the term summer commitments to get out of work too.
There's no chance. Yeah. So
Okay.
thanks for being on the pod. Welcome your insights and input. And we're joined today by someone who's a friend, but I was actually a friend of your father before I was a friend of you. This is Matt Phipps. And I was a planter kind of along the same times with your dad, Dale Phipps, back in the day. So Matt, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Yeah,
I can't use what Hunter was talking about or Tony. I don't.
yeah, you guys are in the middle of VBS right now.
Yeah, VBS. Yep.
Is that having a pretty good week so far?
Yeah, every night we've had somewhere between 40 and 50 or a little over 50 kids. And
That's awesome.
so it's been awesome. It's had all the pains and blessings of the whole thing. We had technological failure. Our computer that uses for all of our stage stuff on Sundays went down, and so we've been using my laptop the whole week. So I've been basically running two parts of my life that I didn't realize.
That's great, man. Well, hey,
Yeah.
welcome. So, we have a kind of a following of mainly pastors, and so it's kind of there's other people that listen, but a lot of the people that listen to our podcast are just regular pastors in smaller communities, smaller churches, just like us. And so real laid back here. We're just kind of talking shop. Think of it like a bunch of pastors having a cup of coffee. And what I like to do first is just ask people to kind of tell us their story, So I've already kind of, tipped your hand a little bit. You grew up in a pastor home at some point, but talk to us about kind of your journey to becoming a follower of Jesus. How did that happen?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, like you said, I grew up as a PK, so when I was born, my dad was started at Boise Bible College, like not too far after I was born. So basically, went through my whole life. He was ministering out with I forget his name, but out there in Kuna, near Kuna. Anyway, south something. Anyway, and then by the time I was really old enough to really know what was going on a whole lot, my dad basically became pastor at a little church called Redwood Christian Church in Payette, Idaho.
Payette.
Yeah.
So you were like conceived at Boise Bible College and
Now
raised
before
Payette.
between my dad's first time and
Okay.
second time. Yeah. So yeah, conceived at Boise Bible College.
I
Be
mean, my
careful.
kids were born like conceived at Ozark Christian College. So
There you go. Yeah. My brother was
I had a ring on my finger at the time.
Yeah. My brother was conceived at Boise for sure. So, but anyway, so I just grew up around the church. Kind of always, I don't know, always just had Jesus around me everywhere I went. We'd be at church all the time, and so it just became pretty obvious that I needed Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And I would think I was 8 or 9 when I got baptized. I have my original baptismal Bible over here.
Yeah.
It's barely hanging on it these days, but and the text is too small for me to read, so I don't. So, but yeah, I was baptized into Jesus when I was 8 or 9 years old, and obviously through all the highs and lows of following him and having to figure out faith and what it really means to trust Jesus and follow Jesus. But yeah, I was 8 or 9 and realized I was a sinner, and I needed to give my life to Jesus. And so I was immersed at Payette Christian Church in like 1989. And
Man,
yeah, and so
good year, I remember it.
and so yeah, I just followed Jesus. I don't know, since then. Like it's really, I'm not one of those guys who got like a big crazy background story but it's kind of the subtleties of the blessing of being a multi-generational Christian home. And
Mhm.
continuing today, baptized all 3 of my children are all baptized now. And
Hey, praise the
um,
Lord.
Awesome.
so I tell guys all the time, it's the greatest honor and privilege I think you can have is to baptize your children. So yeah,
I used to
so
threaten my children. I'm like, if any youth pastor tries to baptize you at camp or some retreat or something, you talk to me. Like, no
yeah,
one's
yeah,
baptized you but me.
yeah, yeah.
I'm I'm getting this on my tally sheet. I've done all the legwork on this. No youth pastors baptized.
So, yeah, no,
So
yeah.
I know you went to the military after you didn't go right into ministry, right? You went to the service at some point?
Yeah, so in short, yeah, I went into the Navy right after high school, graduated from down here from Hidden Valley High School, not Boise State. Sorry, all those Bronco
I saw
fans.
those colors. I was a little alarmed, but okay.
No, no, I got flip my camera around and show you all my Oregon stuff.
Hey,
There you
So
go.
there you go. And yeah, I honestly, I think by the time I was 18 years old, I was largely pretty disenfranchised with the corporate church world, like a lot of people.
Mhm.
And considering some of the things my dad had gone through in ministry. And so I know we'll get to that in a minute. But so yeah, I just went in the Navy, got out, went to Bible college, shouldn't have gone to Bible college, was not mature enough to be at school, even at 23. And then, yeah, so but yeah, that's kind of yeah, so ministry, I was always involved in ministry, like from the like volunteer kind of standpoint, just helping out wherever I could, sound booth, all that kind of stuff. And then but yeah, so youth ministry came in later, and then senior ministry, reluctantly, senior ministry. So
You were a reluctant senior pastor? What are you talking about?
yeah, actually I heard that from what's his name at what was Newburgh Christian Church,
Oh,
whatever, Northwest.
yeah.
He talked about that being a reluctant pastor. And I was like, oh, I can resonate. That's not what I intended to do. And that's
So were you saying that some of the like the disconnect for you, like with church and stuff, was a result of things you experienced as a PK? Like kind of just
yeah, there was
counterintuitive?
there was some. I mean, I don't know if I want to go completely into that. Like
Sure.
that's a lot of my dad's story.
Right.
I just saw uh organizationally, the at the time the OCEF was instrumental in doing some pretty backwards stuff uh, against my dad in a time that my dad had made some major mistakes, but was also repentant. And I just saw that as like this ultimate betrayal. But I would say, and I've shared some of this with you, I think last time we saw each other at Grove, I think, and there was a time where my uncle Bob and he and Redwood did the right thing and bringing my dad on staff here. And I think that helped keep a small glimmer of hope alive for what church and ministry looks like. And so, but yeah, um, I guess that's all I'll say about that right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's interesting because a lot of times in ministry, like Hunter just had his first little guy, turned like 1, right? And we signed up to do these things um to, advance the gospel and grow the
Mhm.
kingdom and serve the local church. And it never crosses our mind, that we could potentially be putting our family in the crossfire a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that's a hard reality that we have to face. Our wives sometimes have, unpleasant experiences because we're a pastor, or our kids. And it's definitely part of part of the experience. I mean, am I right on that? Like
Yeah.
that's, you know,
Well, my oldest, he's turns 18 on Saturday. And so he's, we're in the midst of all sorts of those big moments for an 18-year-old. And one of the things that's always been really cool is that he so loves church. And
Mhm.
so not the experience I had at his age. Um, and he loves church. Like
praise the
he's
Lord.
volunteering, leading games right now for VBS, and he just had one of those pressure point moments with a mom who got really upset with him
Yeah.
during the games. And I wasn't there. Like I said, I've been in the sound booth kind of helping out on VBS night. But yeah, he was over in the gym, and there was this whole thing, I guess. And it was just kind of funny. There's this little pressure point. And on the way home from the church, I was just talking to him like, these are those moments where the good reminder is you're always going to have those people
Yeah.
in church. And it's an opportunity to give grace. It's an opportunity to grow and see what areas of leadership you could have done better in.
Hmm.
Was it disorganized, and the mom has like all these other things going on, and you just happen to be the one that the nail that was sticking up, they got the hammer. And I thought it was a really, really good growing moment, and he
Yeah.
handled it really well for a 17, almost 18-year-old kid. Like he didn't cuss her out or anything, which
Yay.
honestly, honestly, if we're being, truthful,
That's a win right there.
yeah, I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, we could have gone that way.
Could have
And
gone worse. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
And and then last night it went really well, and that lady was still there. So praise the Lord. And moving on, there's always going to be pressure points in ministry. I think my dad kind of did a good job of showing me all that there was going to be ups and downs, and you're going to take your licks and your knocks. And um, in Elijah's life, we just spent a lot of time being very honest about life and ministry, and him seeing it. He's walked through it, and he's been through the ups and downs with us. He was old enough to really understand in Idaho what was going on there. And so um yeah, so it's been cool watch him. He loves ministry. He loves, I don't know what he wants to do. I don't really care.
yeah.
I'm definitely not pushing him to go to Bible college right now. I just I don't think anybody should go to Bible college unless they really feel like they're being called, personally. And I think there's some other options out there. But yeah, I'm just letting him figure out what he feels God is calling him to do. And so anyway, that's not even on point, but
No, no. Let's go back. So what was the actual thing that kind of brought you back into like
oh,
the ministry? I got you off topic. It's fine. We're just
oh
having a conversation. So
yeah. Honestly, my wife. Um,
yeah.
yeah. At a point, so when I got out of the Navy in 2003, I jokingly, I mean, he's gone now. He's passed on and went home to be with Jesus. So Charles Crane like conned me into going to BBC. So, and I love Charles. But he kind of conned me into it, and not really. He was just always a used car salesman, so he's always good at talking to somebody. And so I love the guy. But he talked me into going to Boise, and I really really enjoyed it. And the reason is because it was through that I met my wife, Amber. Her actual name's Ambrasia, but most people call her Amber. And so she was heavily involved in a Nazarene youth group at a Nazarene church plant in Boise.
Okay.
And I was in a place where I was just absolutely burned out and frustrated, largely due to a lot of my own immaturity, and just blamed everybody else for my failures. And kind of just a hard place in life that I think we all in some ways get to. And so I started just liking her. Obviously we were skateboarders, and we spent a lot of time with a bunch of different guys from BBC, and we were out skateboarding, and eventually it just uh, turned out to be her and I. And we started dating. And 2 weeks later, I asked her to marry me because
Wait, 2 weeks later,
yeah, dude, I was like,
you're ready.
she's the one. I'm like, idiot like me needs somebody to keep make sure I go go.
You did go to Boise Bible College, so that makes sense.
She did too. She
Ring by
did too.
spring or
So
your money back.
we didn't. Yeah, we didn't have the ring by spring. I was not a student. She was a student. I was a student. She wasn't. So it was like we missed each other, but we were friends with the same people. And so, honestly, I started hanging out and going to church with her. I hadn't been going to church actually before I met her. And so, as typical, go to church for a girl, I guess you could say, in my life. And yeah, and she's like, well, just come help out with youth group. And so I met her youth pastor. His name was Phil. And so we just started helping out there. And then we got married, and that got me like just going back into church all the time. And when we got married, we moved to Forest Grove. Like 2 months after we got married, we moved to Forest Grove. And I was supposed to just help out a guy over there at my dad's church who was a youth pastor. And then basically the minute I got there, he was like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm going back to college. Youth ministry is yours. I'm like, what? So I accidentally became a youth pastor or volunteer youth pastor at my dad's church there, Real Life Christian Church in Forest Grove, I think it was called. And that's probably when you knew him, because you were at what was the
We were in McMinnville.
McMinnville, yeah. And so, or you knew him before then probably too. But so anyway, that's what it just started. We were married, got back into church real heavily, and when we moved to Forest Grove, and just jumped right into doing youth ministry with my wife. And my wife was huge, massively important in my youth ministry. So yeah, so we did that for about 2 years.
So you got to kind of like be on staff with your dad?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Is that kind of cool?
Yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it. He was my mentor, and it was always interesting to be, what was I would have been 26, so 26 through 28 when I was doing that. And I just knew, like, kind of a longer story, but it was just nothing else. I was working for Wells Fargo I was a home equity analyst, and I worked in home equity charge-offs in 2008. So I was in collections. Really positive place to be during 2008 with home equity collections. And
Oh yeah, I imagine.
yeah, and I was working like 55, 60 hours a week, mandatory overtime. We just had Elijah, so we're 18 years ago on this, and we just had Elijah, and I was working so much for Wells Fargo that the church, my dad and the elders, wanted to take the youth ministry into this discipleship process, which was really cool. Where it's like more one-on-one, like we're going to have a bunch of mentors and mentorees type of idea. And I just looked at my schedule. I'm like, I just don't have the time. Working 60 hours a week with a baby at home, and my wife wasn't able to work. And so, yeah, I had to back off from that. I had to step down from youth ministry, which really hurt. Nobody's fault. It's just, church leadership wanted to move in a direction with it, and it didn't fit into my schedule. So I stepped aside. I was on the worship team, played guitar. I had to step aside from worship team. And it was kind of, if I see it now, how God was stripping everything away to prepare me for what was about to take place. It's funny when you're in those moments when you're young, you don't really see that. And as you get older, you start to see, like, oh, I see how God was moving pieces on the chessboard, right, for a future move that he was working out. And so I stepped away from all the ministry. I was just working, trying to pay our bills. Wasn't doing a very good job at that, but basically, it was in those moments that I was sitting there in a cubicle at Wells Fargo, sitting there going, this can't be it. I'm miserable. I hate I hate working here. I'm in trouble anytime I talk to somebody, which I'm really good at talking to people. Uh, so, uh, and then I was just sitting there one day and I heard a voice like, go back to school.
Mhm.
And that really came out from, I had literally tried to apply for every position I could think of inside Wells Fargo to try and increase our financial ability as a church or as a family. And every place I met, I hit the kind of glass ceiling. I didn't have a degree, so I didn't even have an associate's degree at that point. So I started looking into stuff, and so my wife just came in, so so um, stealing something from my fridge. So and basically, I just started looking like going back into school. And so at first I thought about all the schools right there in Portland, Multnomah or George Fox, or even looked at like schools like Corbin, Eugene Bible, whatever. I was
Yeah.
trying to find something right there that I could go do
Yeah.
and still stay in the Northwest. And as I did, like everything was no. It was it was too left leaning, it was or liberal thinking, like theologically. It was too expensive. It didn't fit theologically speaking, like Corbin wasn't going to fit for me as a restoration movement Christian pastor. And so I decided everything went away. I looked at Puget, and Puget Sound was closing their doors that year.
I know, right? That's yeah.
Yeah.
So so it's like, oh, this is our last year. And I'm like, oh man, okay. So now I have to go back to the school I screwed the pooch with. And
Face the music.
yeah, I had to face the music. And so I remember calling over there, and they were like, okay, why do you want to come back? And Ross Knudsen at the time was
Russ.
registrar, whatever. And he's like, you're gonna have to write an essay as to why you believe that you have you deserve a shot to go back. And I was like, oh man, here's the plate of crow, right?
Yeah.
And
Go over the goals.
yep. And I just remember for some reason, and I truly think it was the Holy Spirit. When I started writing that essay, I just realized I don't have I don't deserve anything. And so I just wrote my essay that way. I'm like, I know I don't deserve another shot.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I know I screwed that pretty bad, and I blamed everybody, and I didn't own that it was my fault. And so I just admitted to all that in my essay. I accepted the fact that I would have to be on academic probation when I showed up. I was using my GI Bill, so I did ask, because they're like, you can't take 12 credit hours. But in order to get the VA benefits for school, I was like, I need 12, at least 12 credit hours. So they did allow me to take 12 credit hours. And I had to spend my first year. I couldn't declare a major. I couldn't do anything, which I thought was all part of God's timing. And but before that all was going on, we decided to preemptively move from Forest Grove, Oregon to Boise, well, Nampa initially. And so in 2009, actually March 1st, 2009, I had quit my job at Wells Fargo. I had taken a job at U-Haul in Nampa, which I had a background with prior, and not that one, but anyway. And we moved back. I hadn't been approved to go back to BBC yet. We moved in with my in-laws, which I would not recommend ever living with your parents when you're married and have a child.
Little side note for the show.
Yeah, little
Good
side note.
insight.
I tell that as part of my premarital counseling. I'm like, move away from your family if you can, unless you have really strong boundaries with your family. Just anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Whole another podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. And we moved in. Later I got approved to go back to school. I got accepted, and I started in 2009, and I graduated in 2013 with a bachelor's of science in Christian ministry and preaching. So
Now, how old were you when you graduated? Because you've already lived some life at this point.
I was almost I was 32 turning 33.
Okay.
So, Yeah.
And so your first ministry out of Bible college was not went right into preaching, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where you went to Fruitland?
Yep. Right from actually it was like kind of a fun story. The summer between junior and senior year, I had been working over in Ohio for the food service company that Boise. I was the sous chef at BBC for.
Okay. I knew I remembered like seeing you working in some capacity at Boise when you were a student. I could not remember. It was food
Yeah.
service. Okay.
Yeah, I was the sous chef for Steve, who was the head chef. And that was a crazy story because I worked for three different head chefs in 3 years.
Wow.
It was
It's
kind
like
of wild.
Survivor Series, man.
Yeah,
Like, we're like,
I had more tenure than our head chef. And it was a really good. I love Steve a lot. And then between junior and senior year, Steve was like, I'm not going to Ohio to work for the camp. And we had a big contract with Manitowoc Boy Scout camp over there in Hudson. And so I went to work because I was like, well, I always lost my income during the summer. So I'm like, this will give me an opportunity to keep paying my bills back home. And so my wife doesn't have to worry. And so I did, and we came back, and my family wanted, my parents and my brother and sister and everybody wanted to go like this big camping trip out near Garibaldi, I think it was, or maybe anyway, somewhere near Cannon Beach. So not Garibaldi. Anyway, there's like yurts or whatever. So on our way over there, we were driving across the border right there in Fruitland. And again, I heard another audible voice in my head. It's like, and it said, I want you here. And I didn't think about it. I was like, that's crazy. I was like,
and Charles Payne was like in the bushes over there going like,
yeah, he's like, I want you.
come back to Boise Bible College.
No, this was right before I graduated.
Oh, okay.
So this was the year before my senior year in
I
2013.
made that joke too late. I should have said it when
Yeah.
you voice about the going.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, we're back. We're back.
And so anyway, I didn't, it sent shivers up my spine or whatever. And I told my wife, I'm like, I just heard that. And so anyway, my wife said the same. She's like, I've been having feelings like we're supposed to be here in that area too. And I'm like, okay, well, so we go on to the trip, we come back, I start my senior year of school. And I immediately knew that my senior year, I was like, if God called me to BBC, then he has a church for me before I graduate. And so I started like hitting the ground in my fall semester of my senior year. I'm like, there's got to be a place. And I started looking and reaching out. I mean, I talked to Kevin's father-in-law, Joel Stiff. And at one point, actually, I talked to him at I think it was my grandpa's funeral, my grandpa Howard's funeral over there. And we talked about the possibility of maybe I'd go to Brownsville. I'd never heard much after that. I didn't really chase that one down very much. And, but I looked into a church in Montana. I looked into some different churches, and everything was, I just didn't know. And then one day I was talking to David DeVolt there at BBC, and he was like, hey, there's a little church in Fruitland that's looking for an associate pastor. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. My wife's from Fruitland. She's actually from Fruitland. Her family named the town. So that's like their old blood.
Responsible for that?
Yeah, they are.
I always thought that was such a weird name. Like
it is. Well, it used to be that it was covered in apple groves.
So
Fruitland. So anyway, so I reached out to Ralph Pearson, was the senior pastor there, and I called and left a message on the church phone. And some weeks went by. At this point, it's like December of 2012, and I remember we were getting ready to go into the like finals week for fall semester, and so I just said, I'm like, I'm going to call one more time, and if they don't answer, then that's God's answer, that's not the church we're supposed to go to. And so I called, and it rang once, and Ralph picked up the phone, and I said, hey, this is Matthew Phipps. He's like, oh, you sound just like your dad.
And the rest was history.
Yeah, and it was like, that's kind of an odd way of opening it. So I didn't know that my dad and Ralph had gone to school together.
It's
And
funny. We every time we have these podcasts, we like all know people, It's not we don't know everybody that like I didn't know everybody you've mentioned, but I know a bunch of the people you mentioned, and it's kind of a small world in ministry. So
oh yeah,
my son has that experience too. We're like, oh yeah, I met your dad, or
yeah,
I'm sure Hunter, like several of the people he's been mentioning, are people too. So
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, well, here's what I want to do. So the reason that we brought you on the pod is because uh, you have basically spent your tenure now as a preacher in smaller rural counties and communities. And so what I'd like to do is just put a end to the episode today. Kind of got your background, how you got to ministry and your journey and all that. Then we'll come back and we'll talk more about some of the unique aspects of being a pastor in small and rural communities. So why don't we do a wrap there and just say thanks for everyone listening today. Be sure and check out our sponsors at 9centprinting.com. If you like what we're doing, you can subscribe or like wherever you watch or listen. If you're interested in Small Town Network, you can find us online at smalltownnetwork.com. You've been listening to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. All right.
Today's episode is brought to you by 9centprinting.com. With over 100 five-star reviews, 9centprinting.com is ready to meet all your printing needs. Are you a church plant or a small church with no copy machine? No problem. 9 Cent Printing has you covered. If you need bulletins, flyers, books, cards, offering envelopes, posters, they do it all. I know the Christian owners of this business personally, and I'm not just a fan, I'm also a customer. Fast, nationwide shipping, affordable, professional, wow printing at wow prices. Check them out at 9centprinting.com.